Good evening, once again, challengers, judges, and fans. It's been a journey up to this point, but after tonight, there will be 2 shooters and 1 challenge left. How amazing it has been to see these 3 women make it this far. Congratulations to all 3 of you for giving it your all every single week. So good job. Tonight, we look at the challenge put forth by the judges. The shooters were asked to photograph a song. The judges are hoping to see tension, a decisive moment, and or some personal reflection within your submission. So speaking of our judges tonight, we would like to thank our expert panel for their wisdom and expertise every week after week. So welcome back Darlene Hildebrandt of Digital Photo Mentor, Tammy Darren of the Photographer Studio, Amy and Jenna Hobbs, the duo behind Hobbs Photography, and last but not least, Leroy of Leroy Schultz Photography. Our guest judge tonight is Nicole Shudra. She is the owner of Fireside Images in Sherwood Park, Alberta. She's a producer of archival quality art prints. This is a family-owned business, and their main focus is to ensure that your family is happy with your new custom artwork. When you deal with Fireside Images, you get you get a personal specialized experience from a small business. Nicole joins the shooting range for Judge's Choice, which is a great match since Nicole has her entire house wired for music. Every room in her house has built-in speakers, so she's stoked to see what the shooters have created. When we listen to music, when we listen to music, all the sounds are given to us in a certain order at a given time. Notes and their order do not change. The artist may only interpret the score in their own way. However, the listener is not able to change a thing. They have to accept it as is. In the case of photography, the situation is completely different. When it comes to the order, sorry, I'm losing my place here. When it comes to the order and time of looking at visual elements of the photograph, each person sees the image differently. They start looking at a certain area of the image, the one that draws their attention the most, then moves on to other areas without any anticipated pattern. The great Aretha Franklin once said, and I feel like this can include photography as well, music does a lot of things for a lot of people. It's transporting for sure. It can take you right back, years back, to the very moment certain things happened in your life. It's uplifting, it's encouraging, it's strengthening. All right, it's time to get this show on the road. We're going to start with slide number 1. This is a collage of the 3 images this week. Okay, we'll move on to slide number 2. This image was done by Shalene, and it's called Country Roads Take Me Home. Shalene's inspiration for this image was from the song Take Me Home, Country Roads by John Denver. Shalene, the judges have said that simple is better, but pay close attention to the details. You decided to stick with a really simple image this week. How did you decide on this particular road, and what was the significance of the person standing beside their car? And would you hang this on your wall?
How did I decide on country roads? Well, this was one of those weeks where I had probably half a dozen better songs in my head, but a lot of them were not suitable to this time of year to shoot. Like one that popped into my mind was Message in a Bottle, but when there's not a stitch of open water around, you can't really shoot that one. So this one came to mind for me because I have listened over the number of weeks that we've done this about how simple often is the answer. And I thought, like for me, music has been something that's been with me my whole life. So if I go back thinking to when music really became important to me, it was something that I used to do with my mom when we would drive out to our cabin, because sometimes we would go without the rest of the family. And that was, I hate to say this, but in the early 70s. And Country Roads is one of the older songs there. And what's funny about that is when I play my music in the car for my kids, they would catch on to certain songs, and this would be one of them. And there's been many that have been in my playlist that they have incorporated into their playlist. And you also find it as a mark is when people redo or recover songs, they often pick ones that I've frequently had on my list. So my kids really like this song as well. And so the reason I chose this road, it's one behind our house. And the thought I had about doing it is like, can I make it simple, but can I also make it look like almost like an old style 1970s vinyl album cover as well to match that kind of situation? And I thought it was nice on this road because the angle was great. The sun was set, the sun sets on the right side of the photo, so that's perfect, and it was coming in that way. And it the way I tried to shoot it was to highlight the choices in the road about what you're going to do, and that, you know, coming home or going home is nice to do, but sometimes it can be uphill. I liked the angle of the road. I liked what was there, and I liked the color matching to like thinking about that sort of desaturated 70s look. The significance of the photo is that's my son. He has only been 16 for 6 months, and that is his prize car that he loves to drive now. And he's not like my daughter. He's not a huge poser. He will, for some of my pictures, do when I ask. But when I said I was going to shoot this song, I said, "Would you do it for me?" And he jumped on it.
Oh,
So
nice.
I figured, you know what, if he's going to agree to it, then that is what we will shoot. Like, I'm sure there was probably more complicated, more emotive songs I could have chosen, but this one just makes us both happy. When I taught him driving lessons, we would listen to this song when we were out driving, because of course he needed to learn during COVID, so he had to have his mom teach him. And so yeah, there's a lot of history behind the song. Spent a lot of time driving this road teaching him as a 16-year-old. And yeah, I hope that it you know, and he's trying to make some decisions in his life about what he where he wants to go to school, and I hope that comes back around, and those country roads bring him back to our place all the time.
Awesome. That's so nice. One more question for you.
Sure.
What has been the biggest aha moment for you since starting the shooting range?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh gosh, that is really tough. I've had several that I've always sort of thought of myself as never being able to do everything. I thought, well, you really should probably just focus on one or two things. But when you put it out there and you put these challenges out there and you put a time limit on it and you say, come on, put your brain in gear and get something together. In fact, you actually can pull other stuff together where you didn't think you could do it. You may not have done it as well as you would have liked to, say if you had an extra week or a little bit more time, or you could have collaborated a little bit more with people who kind of know you a little bit better and flesh out your style a little bit. But deep down, I think the aha moment is that when push to shove, you can come up with all kinds of things. Some of them might not be your best, some of them might not be in your wheelhouse, but you can still do it when pushed.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Leroy, shooting on a bright sunny day is always a challenge. What tips do you have for shooters on how to make the most of the sun when it's shining?
Well, I guess it depends on what it is you're shooting. I mean, the sun can be challenging if you're shooting something like portraiture, right, where it'll lead to squinting and things of that nature. But when you're dealing with other things, you can sure use the sun to your advantage to create like a sunburst, depending on what aperture you're shooting at and what lens and whatnot. I think really you use that as an ingredient to see what shadows are being thrown by the sun. Yeah, it's hard to come up with a generic answer to how to shoot with the sun, because there's this whole complex of decisions that go into using the light that's produced by the sun in imagery.
So let me ask you this then, the use of sun in this image, can you tell me your thoughts on that then?
Yeah, so I guess I'll answer that and go into a little bit of my critique of this image. I see a whole bunch of shadows here. You know, it looks like it's probably a late day in the sun, and you can see how there's shadows being thrown. It appears to be thrown across the road. I really would have wanted to see that emphasized, because that would have brought a really nice sense of play into the image that's already there with the compression of, I'm assuming you used a long lens, a telephoto lens, Lane, on this, which I think is awesome. So in this case, I mean, the shadows are really muted. They're very subtle. I would have wanted to see those shadows really brought out in a way that could have made this image stand out and be more moody. The other critique, the thing that bothers me about this is, if you look closely at the power lines and the signposts, everything seems rotated to the left, which psychologically causes, you know, most viewers some distress in very subtle subliminal ways, because it just seems like something is collapsing there. So that's one thing also that I would have wanted to see addressed.
So sorry about that, Leroy. They actually are rotated to the left, because that's the wind direction. Like naturally.
Is that true of those signposts too?
Absolutely, 100%. The wind blows so strong from that direction. They are all naturally rotated.
Interesting.
Yeah, you'll drive up that whole road, and even our, like, that's the side of our house that's blasted. So I'm afraid it's unavoidable, as that's nature's. That's the way it is.
Well,
and
I noticed.
You're right. I did use a telephoto on that. So
yeah,
thanks for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I noticed there seems to be a structure kind of on the top right there that's dark, and that is level. So that's the only sign that it's like, okay, well, is this way, or
no, the wind totally took care of that. And actually, it is a structure out there, and it is tilted. If you get driving up on it, it is actually blown. It's a bale structure, and it's like a housing thing, and it's all tilted, and it is all wind related. So that is not a photo distortion. That is the road.
So, you know, as we see you, you know, assuming we see you next week, if your hair looks windblown, we'll excuse you.
Yeah, that's why. That's the answer.
Thank you, Leroy. Nicole, Shalene opted to crop her image square this week. This is reminiscent of an album or CD cover. But how important is paying attention to cropping when images go to print? Would you have to make a custom frame to stretch this image?
No, not personally, because I don't mass produce. I custom every frame. They're all custom. But I will say photographers often crop in close and then send to print, and a good portion of the important parts of the image are lost wrapped around the edges. So if I had any critique for any photographer, is to leave a little more border for us poor printers, so we have something to put around the edges. And square is pretty common, and actually quite desirable by end users.
Right. Tammy, in photography, we at times are creating a sense of structure and order out of chaos, simplifying and refining our compositions down to their strongest fundamentals, hopefully still including the elements that best convey the inner workings of our heart and soul. Often the most compelling compositions contain only 3 or 4 major artistic ideas. This image was inspired from the song "Take Me Home, Country Roads." Do you find the composition of this image to be in line with the lyrics of the song? And if you were shooting the scene, What would you have done differently?
Yeah, I made a comment of this, that yes, that it definitely does say country roads. I mean, there's no city line anywhere to be seen. There is telephone poles, there's lines of the road, everything. I like the leading lines of that. It is a little heavy on the left because the telephone poles are only on the left, but it is definitely country roads. What I would have done differently here, I definitely would have made the contrast a little bit better, the color a little bit brighter, but you did say you did that on purpose. But there are ways of doing it where you can bring all that elements out. Like Leroy was saying about the shadows, it would have been nice to see them maybe burned a little bit to make them darker, or the contrast somehow fixing that up. Differently, also, I did make a comment about the car. I wasn't sure why he was out of his car. I was like, is he broke down? Who's he talking to? Or is what's happening? Why is he on the side of the road? So I think that's the only thing I would do different. I would have found a way to maybe show a vehicle driving through that country road, maybe with some dust kicked up, if it's possible this time of year. Something to show the motion of this country road taking that car home. So I think that's what was lost with me, was that the car was stopped, and all I was wondering was, what's going on? Are you okay? Are you broke down? Not driving anywhere. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But yes, great job though.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Hope, let's move on to slide number 3, please. This image is done by Rain, and it is You're Gonna Be Okay. She chose this song, You're Gonna Be Okay by Brian and Jen Johnson, as inspiration for this image, for her image this week. Rain, this week you picked a song that even you weren't familiar with. What about it resonated with you, and how did you come up with your concept? And would you hang this on your wall?
Hi, yeah. So I had a couple song ideas, and then I was like on YouTube, and it gives you like suggested songs. It just keeps playing, and this one popped up, and I like just cried. I was listening to it. I just was like, it just felt like, I don't know, it just felt so like validating or normalizing. And honestly, this image just popped into my head. Like it just was in my head. And so I just got excited about this idea more than the other ideas. And so I was like trying to buy a rope and it was awesome. So yeah, I actually bought, this is a tow rope. It's a 10-foot tow rope I got randomly from a steel worker place on like Marketplace for $5. I was like, great. And then I was like, gotta find somewhere to hang this. And so that's it's just kind of like snowballed from there, and it just worked out. And I did a couple different shoots. I shot multiple people in a couple different locations, and this is the one I came up with. And I definitely this week had on my mind that the part of the brief that was like, would you put this on your wall? And that was definitely a factor in how I wanted to shoot, because for me, I thought about it literally, not even for the competition necessarily, but I was like, what would I want on my wall that would encourage me or like be cool in my house? And I was like, I would totally hang this as that reminder of like, take one step, like look for the light in the darkness, like you're gonna be okay, kind of thing. And so that's, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And also the same question as Shalene. What has been your biggest aha moment since starting the shooting range?
Yeah, I do have an aha moment that has presented itself to me every week, and it's that I need to not be attached to anything. And I realized that in the very first week, actually, because I did shoot a totally different concept that took me a lot of time, and I was totally in love with it. And then I think I was just talking about it in the challengers group, and it was like the first day. It was like the very next day I shot it, and I was like, I'm done. It's Monday, and I was just so excited. And I need to let all of that go. And that has been my biggest aha moment. Like, even for the light one, the shot in the dark challenge, my first concept, I drove an hour out of the city and completely pre-planned and met people there and spent so much time taking the photo of the guy against the wall of graffiti, and I needed to let that go. I needed to let the investment of that time go, and how much I honestly love that image, because when I went and took the other shot, I was like, this is the one. And I think just releasing the control of that, and really rereading the brief and letting myself be more creative. And I think you said, Billy, like, lightning can strike more than one time. And I've really just wanted to learn a lot in this. Like, this is such a learning opportunity for me, and I don't have a wheelhouse. I don't have a style. Like, I'm developing it, and I really want to maximize that. And so, yeah, long answer short is just letting go of the control and not being emotionally attached to anything, and giving myself the space and the time to invest in multiple things, and then having a larger pool of images to go through and be like, yeah, this is the one that I want to submit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Reen. Hobbs, at any given moment, we are processing and absorbing a ton of information when practicing our camera work, from technical and equipment considerations to lighting and composition. We then interpret this information through our own eyes and emotional filters. When you listen to the song and view this image, do you think that Reen was able to get the message of the song across while considering the technical as well as the emotional?
It's always like, who's going to go first?
I know. It's always anticipation. Who's it going to be this time?
I feel like Rain did a fantastic job this week. Both Jenna and I really agreed that we appreciated the look, the mood of the location, that you didn't just go, to your backyard fence, because it would have ruined the mood of this photo. Choosing this kind of industrial looking wall really lends to that mood. You wonder what the story is behind this, and anytime you can create that sense is fantastic. The light on her face is really beautiful. From a technical standpoint, your focus is like a little, it's quite high noise, which I honestly don't really give a crap about high noise. That doesn't bother me. But then it looks like your focus is just missing a little bit when I zoomed in on this in Lightroom on her face.
Thank you. Jenna, did you want to add anything?
What I really enjoyed about this image was that, yes, it told the story of the song, and technically, other than a few details, it was great. I loved that it told a story for the viewer to interpret. Why is she wearing that dress? Where is she? Why is she climbing that rope? I love that she's a woman. I love that she's a woman of color. I love that she's barefoot. I love that she's gripping that rope. One thing is, we wish there was a little bit more emotion on her face, unless that was intentional. But yeah, and I loved that the location, why is there these pipes or whatever they are in this industrial area, and she's wearing that beautiful dress. It makes you think, and I like images that make you think.
Thank you. Darlene, Rain used light painting to assist with the lighting in this image. How effective do you think her choice of lighting was in conveying tension and hope?
I'm glad you asked that, because I was actually going to ask her how she lit it. I think it's really effective. Amy already mentioned that, the light on her face is beautiful. She's picked up the texture of the rope, which makes it, look rough and like it's hard, like she's got a hard climb, yet she's wearing this kind of soft, feminine outfit, right? My only comments, and I actually want to change my own opinion now because after hearing what Amy said about the wall and the industrial, I wanted to get rid of the pipes, but now as I'm looking at it again, I think that the pipes are actually sort of like another obstacle for her in this way up, right? So it kind of represents another stumbling block that she might have to overcome. So scratch what I said in the comments. I like the pipes now. So, but I think the lighting is fantastic. And considering the amount of time that you've even just owned your camera, this is incredible.
Thank you, Darlene. Tammy, you've been a stickler for focus and grain since the beginning of the competition. You prefer shooting models and using studio lighting. Given that this was shot on location by someone with limited gear and experience, what advice do you have for Rain going forward to improve her craft?
Of course, you would bring me into this one. Yeah, so what advice? Okay, well, the grain, let's just bring this up here. So that was the one thing I didn't like about the image. And so if you really bring it in, like it's not in focus and it is grainy, but I did say I like the lighting, but I think depending on how you light this image and all your different settings on your cameras, you can get away from grain. So studio lighting definitely helps with that. If you have strobes, you will get some really tack sharp images for sure. And there are ways of lighting this. I don't know where this is, but if it was just a short wall, you could light this in many different ways, depending on what you have. Like some lighting comes with clamps, or you can have it from above, or you got a bunch of assistants holding things. So there are ways of lighting in funky places that will give you that tack sharp lighting. I like using strobes, that's me. I find everything's usually very, very focused that way. If I try to light something with them, yes, you will get a lot of grain.
Thank you, Tammy. Let's move to slide number 4, please. This image is of Corylyn's image, Into the Light of the Dark Black Night. Corylyn decided on Blackbird, originally done by the Beatles, but this image was inspired by Sarah McLachlan's version of the song. Corylyn, you shot your entire concept twice this week, and we're still questioning your edits when you submitted.
Yes, I was.
Do you think that you came close to creating the vision you had intended, and would you want to hang this on your wall?
So yes, this image actually is very close to what I had pictured in my head for the most part. There's things that I would have liked to have had more time to work on, but you know how you get lost down the rabbit hole in Photoshop. I would absolutely hang this on my wall. And I've already promised a print of it to the model who sat for me incredibly patiently.
2 times, right?
Or 2 times, 2 hours, both times. I kept saying to her, do you need to get up and stretch? Do you need to move? She's like, no, I'm fine. And I'm like, your bum must be so asleep. So she was incredible. And she just sat there while I moved lights and moved things and re-broke the wing and did it was crazy. So everybody needs to have a muse like this. She is definitely one of my favorite people to shoot. So
fun.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, when my first images did not turn out on Friday night, and I let her know that I wasn't going to be able to use them and I was going to have to reshoot something else, she said, well, we'll just have to do it again. And like totally freed up her whole, like she was amazing. So
it's fun. It's nice when you can get somebody who's so willing to help you out with your vision. Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So tell us what your biggest aha moment was since the beginning of this journey down the TSR rabbit hole.
Oh, I've had lots of aha moments. A lot of them are that I just need to learn how to get out of my own way. I kind of get stuck in I come up with an idea and I don't let myself expand on things as much as I need to or would like to. Some of that I think has just been where I've been at emotionally and in my own life right now, but it's been really good for me to try to learn how to push myself. And I'm such a procrastinator. This competition has been extremely challenging for me in that trying to get all my thoughts together and get everything done, and then still leaving myself enough time to do the post-production work. So it's been really good for me though.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Hobbs, how effectively did Corylyn manage the use of details to convey mood?
I think she did a really good job. Amy and I talked about the mood in this photo. There's definitely a mood that we love. The location, like, where is that? Did you break that window? Look at the curtains, the mirror. You know, you can see the girl and the makeup. All of it adds to this mood that we love. The light outside, you know, was that a light that was there, or did you put that light there? The light on her face is beautiful. And then everything else that isn't lit. The one thing we didn't love was the blackbird in the moon. Our preferred taste is a little more subtle, but all the other details we thought really added to it.
Awesome. The moon came in and came out several times, but I decided that it needed to be there for in my own head. So
I'm glad you kept it then.
Yeah, I mean, second what Jenna says. First of all, am so appreciative of you either creating or finding this location. I think all of us that have scouted for locations know how time consuming it can be. And when you're doing conceptual work, there's so much thinking involved that when you only have a week, that doesn't leave a ton of time to find a location, especially from a fellow procrastinator over here. And I thought I was just really like proud of you when I saw this, because we've talked so much about making sure that the details that you have in there are adding to your story. And aside from the bird and the moon, I love all the details about this. I love the wisps of her hair. I love the broken wing. I love the filth on the window, the tattered curtain, her reflection in the mirror. It all lends to a mood, and you've created a story in one image. So yay, you.
thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Hobbs. Darlene, when adding elements in Photoshop, such as birds, do you have any advice for Corylyn and the other shooters to make them look more realistic?
I'm not really, you should ask Renee that next week. I'm not really a composite builder myself. The only time that I add things, like I use Luminar as a plugin, and it has a sky augmentation feature where you can add elements and things. I too had a comment on the bird because I don't think it looks like a blackbird silhouette. It looks more like a pheasant or something. So I think, I don't know. We all have things with the bird. I would have liked to see without the bird and just the moon. Like, I don't think you needed the bird, but the moon definitely I like there. I couldn't find any faults with it though. Like, the bird doesn't take away from the impact for me. The only thing that maybe you could have done with the bird is just maybe fade him out a little bit so he's like not quite such a strong silhouette, or have the clouds come across the bird and the moon a little bit to soften it.
Yep, absolutely. And I can see that myself. Like I said, I got lost in Photoshop, and that was the last element that got stuck in there, and I was like, okay, I just got to be done. So
what about moving the moon down a little bit? Because it's kind of like, it's that detail again where it's touching that edge of the window glass there. If the moon was like, I'm assuming you added the moon as an element, If you
I
just
did.
move it down a little bit so it's not touching that bit of glass.
I also had it partially like so that you could only see the bottom 2/3 of the moon in some. I had it all over the place. So I will continue playing with it before I print anything, I think. So
Yeah, maybe even like play with the position of it, and then maybe even like take a tint, like that blue tint that's on the window or of her sweater, or even the blue from the wings,
yeah,
and just put a slight blue over the moon, like a blue moon, right?
yeah, absolutely.
But
Thank you.
this song had great meaning for me as well from my own personal past. So I really enjoyed this image.
Thanks, Darlene.
Thank you. Nicole, one of your comments on the judging form was that there was some color saturation on the wings. If this was intentional, but would not print well, what would you suggest to a client wanting this image printed?
Oh gosh, it doesn't print well when it looks like neon pink noise, and it was just kind of over the wings in the back of her head. It tends to look like ink droplets when printed large format on canvas, and clients inevitably come back and have words about noise when it's all one color like that. Typically I just tell them to go back and talk to the photographer about whatever their grief is. Usually photographers can desaturate that pretty quickly. There's nothing I really want to do as a printer to touch a photographer's vision. Generally, I just say, call them back. Photographers are super willing to meet your vision as well. That's just the best option for me. It makes everybody much happier when photographers have control over their own image.
Very true. Very true.
Right.
Thank you.
I've been doing it a long time, and I've learned that photographers generally want the best out there. So they usually get on board really quick.
Yes, they do. Because they don't want their work. Roy, the combined elements of music and photography can help us capture a state of mind. Uh-oh, did I cut out there?
You did, but you're back.
Okay. Yeah. Should I start over again then?
Sure. Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Leroy, the combined elements of music and photography can help us capture a state of mind, suggest a feeling, or even evoke a sense of time and place. Common themes that are often explored between both music and photography may include solitude, joy, sadness, escape, nostalgia, loneliness, tension, and passion, just to name a few. Did you feel the connection from the music to the photograph, and which themes came across to you?
That's a good question. I think yes. The answer is yes. There was a strong correlation between the song and the image. I think there's a beautiful sense of self-reflection and melancholy in this image. I'll echo what some of the other judges have said, that there's a lot to like in this image. I think there's evidence of a certain mastery of lighting here, of just starting from that foundation of what will I shoot, how will I represent this, that concept stage, and then the implementation and detail stage. I think there's a lot that really stands out about this image. I will jump on the anti-bird bandwagon. I think that I do find like that's a little too much spice in this dish. I wonder what it would look like without that. And I did also notice that noise in the color noise in the wings, but that's when you're pixel peeping. And then the other thought I had is I wonder what it would look like if you just bring that bottom left corner in and crop things in a little bit tighter. But overall, I think this is a masterful image, and I think you should be proud of your work with this, Corylyn.
Thanks, Leroy.
Hey, judges, feel free to add comments or critiques to any of the images. I don't have any more questions for anybody. Yeah, just raise your hand if you want to speak. Go ahead, Darlene.
I just wanted to be the advocate for grain and noise because I actually love grain. Coming from a film background, I used to shoot 3200 ISO black and white. I used to shoot infrared black and white, and I add grain to my images sometimes. Like the one that Rain shot, I would actually embrace that and add some more grain. And there's a difference, but in the look of digital noise and grain. And if you can replicate it, like what software are you using now to do some editing, Rain?
I'm still just using Snapseed.
Okay, so you're doing it on your phone. I think if you go to my YouTube channel, I post a video for you in the main group, but I've got a bunch of videos on Luminar. It's really easy to use for beginners, and you can use it on your computer. You can do it on JPEGs or RAW files. And it has a really nice film grain that you can add. So it adds a nice effect, or you can add like a texture overlay to make it sort of look old or grungy, or even like a sepia tone, that kind of thing. But that's a really nice edit for Snapseed, I have to say. And the same with Corylyn's. I mean, I would not say that grain is a bad thing there. I actually didn't even look at these images on Lightroom and zoom in. I wasn't pixel peeping. I just wanted to see the full image and have the impact of the full image. So I didn't even notice the noise, like maybe the color noise get rid of, but honestly, I would like some grain on both of those. And oh, sorry. For yours, Shalene, like the, since you mentioned the 70s thing, I would have loved to take it farther instead of a different direction, like what the others suggested, which is more shadow, more contrast. What if you give it like a cross-processed look, you know, like that real 70s faded photo look where it's like bluish, greenish, some kind of weird color, right? Something like that. And the other thing that I didn't mention in my comments, but I thought of it again tonight, is what if the car was like zooming down the hill with that dust behind it? Because to me, Take Me Home on the country roads, because my grandmother lived out there by New Sarepta. That's what I'm seeing going down those roads. Is that
yeah, I did try a couple of those, and there was a couple that I shot in a different direction, and a car came through at the same time and created the dust, and I almost used it. And then I almost used that greeny one, and I almost used a straight up black and white. And I must have spent probably more time deciding which one I was going to use than actually editing any of them. So yeah, I lucky enough I got all of those, but it was like, it came down to he chose his top 4, and I let him say the one that he thought was the best. And I'm like, because I liked them all, so it was like, whatever, it's all good. But yes, I did get the dust. That would have been cool.
Awesome.
Shalane, I'll add something that I meant to add when I was talking about your image earlier. Excuse me, and that is that I really love the context, the story that you told us of how you came about to pick that image and create it, and even just involving your son in this and teaching him to drive and all of that. Photography is just such a personal thing for all of us, right? That the motivations that we have drive us to produce images that speak to us, and I think that's evident in especially in listening to what you had to say about your image tonight. And I mean, that's I think for me, and probably for most of us here, ultimately photography is about expressing our emotions, and clearly you're emotionally connected to that image, and I think that's great.
Thank you. Any other judges want to weigh in before we move on? No, all the judges were impressed this week. Nicole, I have one last question for you. As a professional printer, you see all kinds of technical glitches when people submit their images, from inadequate resolution to wonky colors to crops that won't work. What kinds of advice do you have for the shooters going forward if they plan to provide printed canvases for their clients?
Oh, resolution is a big one. And how you share it to your clients, if your clients are printing your work, is a big one. It's complicated. Sharing files with printers or clients is complicated. Spend some time learning how works best for you, because you will inevitably have to talk someone through that process. I have seen so many clients pay very good money for beautiful photographs and save the thumbnails. And they go to print and they're frustrated, and the photographer has since, it was a year ago, the photographer is not carrying their full format file anymore. And these beautiful photographs will not even print a 4x6, and they're frustrated. And it's just such a shame. So really understanding and making sure your clients understand that they shouldn't, or clients also screenshot it, and then they will send me to print a screenshot with the black borders on the top and the bottom, and the time and their battery and all the good things. So, if you're going to sell digitals versus selling canvases, I of course want you to sell canvases and make money on it, because that's what you're here for. But if you're going to sell digitals, make sure they understand how to display your work, because what people see represents you, typically not even me, it represents you. And sometimes I can call you guys and I'm like, hey, your client has sent me this and this doesn't look like you. But sometimes I don't know you. So learn the sharing aspect of it. It's a really important end use representation of your work.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Nicole. Thank you. Great advice. So before we head into the results, we would like to announce the prize package for the winner, and soon to be the shooting range's first range master. So our final prize package is valued at over $1,000 in cash and prizes. Cash prize is $420. There is a Wacom Intuos Bluetooth editing tablet, a 1-hour mentoring session with Tammy Darren, studio rental credit for the photographer's studio, makeup artistry by Kaylee Darren, a $50 voucher for a dress rental from local designer Enchanted Ever After, Michelle Bossert, a 1-month Zoom membership to No Excuses Fitness, and a beaded keyring by Jillian Violet Creative. We'll have more information about the prizes and the vendor shout out on Friday. Darlene, did you have your hand up?
You mean the 1 hour with me or with Tammy?
Tammy had offered one. We didn't have anything submitted by you, but if you're offering it, we will add it to the
Yeah, I
the
told
prize
you guys
package.
last week when we were talking, I said I would give a 1 hour mentoring as well.
Okay, we will add that to the list. So also a 1 hour mentoring with Darlene. So now we have come to the end of the night, and you all want to know who will go home and who will be going on to complete in the final challenge portfolio. Just don't bring it up just yet, Hope. Rain. Leroy said, beautifully lit, evocative, and mysterious. Well done. Corylyn, the Hobbs remarked, we are living for the mood in this image. Booyah, baby. Shalene, Tammy said, leading lines are always great. Love the wires leading up the road. I love country roads, and I love this song too. So in third place this week, with Country Roads, Take Me Home, is Shalene. Shalene, it was so amazing to get to know you after over these last 3 months. We got to celebrate with you on your publication of your book, Wild Ride. And we thank you so much for being here with us. We hope you've equally enjoyed being here with us too. Would you like to say anything?
Sure. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody, and I appreciate the opportunities that I've had to do some things that I wouldn't normally do, and get out of my box and try something else, and to meet everyone. And over these weeks, and it has been very educational and enlightening. I've learned so very much, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I wish everybody else the best of luck for the rest of the competition.
Thank you, Shalene. And now you know you can do it. You can shoot anything. Okay, so, where am I now? Okay, so now that means Rain and Corylyn will be our final two heading into the very last challenge. The judges all loved your images this week, but they agreed that first place, hope you want to bring it up as I'm saying it. First place and winner of week 10 Photograph a Song is the person who shot dun, 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 Into the Light of the Dark Black Night. Congratulations, Corylyn. You worked very hard with this image this week. What would you like to say?
I just want to say thank you. I feel like I got the depth of the storytelling this week. And this is the first week that I really felt like I could pour the majority of my creativity into my image. And then some stars aligned, which was lovely. But I really appreciate this one this week. The song means a great deal to me personally, and so I'm very touched that my image was chosen this week. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this week, Corylyn, you win an 11 by 14 print of Into the Light of Into the Light of the Dark Black Night to hang on your wall. This image will be printed with love and care at Fireside Images and is provided by the TSR admin team.
Awesome. I'm super excited.
We're excited to see it once it's hung up on the wall, and you take a photograph and you make sure that you send that to us.
Absolutely.
And tag Nicole.
And tag Nicole at Fireside Images.
Yes.
So, you know, photography has a way of making you present in the moment. The feel of the camera in your hand, its weight, the strap around your neck, the connection that you make when you bring the camera up to your eye, and the physicality of moving around a subject, exploring its potential and discovering the best means of photographing it. This is what makes photography an art, something that's truly yours. Stay present in the moment, always. And I'll leave you with one last quote before we say goodbye. Photography is a way of feeling, of touching, of loving. What we have caught on film is captured forever. It remembers little things long after you have forgotten everything. Aaron Siskind. So, folks, get pictures done, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it so much.